The little girl's scream tore through the frozen December air like a knife through silk. "He's going to kill her on the bridge. Please help." Chad Scott didn't look up immediately. He'd heard desperation before, heard it in 1,000 voices, 1,000 pleas that weren't his problem. His hand was already on the door handle of his Mercedes, keys still warm in his palm, when the small fist pounded against his window. Then he saw her. 4 years old, maybe. Brown curls plastered to her face by snow and tears. Pink coat too thin for Chicago winter, one sleeve torn at the shoulder. Her breath fogged the glass in rapid, panicked bursts. Behind her, 50 yards down the bridge, a man had a woman by the throat. Chad's world stopped. Not because of the violence. He'd built an empire on violence, controlled it like men control fire. But because the little girl's eyes, wide and terrified, and so goddamn trusting, looked exactly like his mother's had 23 years ago, when she'd begged a stranger for help outside a liquor store. No one had opened the door that night. His mother died 3 hours later. Chad opened the door. "Stay here," he said, his voice rougher than he intended. The girl grabbed his coat with both hands. "He's hurting Mommy really bad this time. Please don't let him." This time. The words settled in Chad's chest like stones. He looked past her toward the bridge. The woman had stopped fighting. Her body hung limp in the man's grip, one hand weakly clawing at his wrist. Snow fell harder now, muffling sound, turning the scene into something from a nightmare. All white silence and dark shapes, and the terrible stillness of someone who'd stopped believing rescue was possible. Chad had built his reputation on being untouchable, cold, efficient. Men twice his size crossed the street when they saw him coming. Chicago's South Side knew his name, the way children knew monsters under the bed, whispered, feared, never challenged. But kneeling there in the snow, eye level with a 4-year-old girl who thought he was just a man in a nice car, something cracked. "Get in the back seat," he told her quietly. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone but me. You promise you'll help her?" He looked at those eyes again. Brown, like his mother's. Desperate, like his mother's. Still believing someone might care. "I promise." She climbed in. He heard the locks click. Then Chad Scott, the man who'd ordered executions over breakfast and buried bodies in foundations of buildings that now scraped Chicago's skyline, walked toward the bridge like he was walking toward his own past. The wind cut through his coat. Temperature had dropped to 15 degrees, maybe lower with wind chill. His breath came out in white clouds. Around him, the city stretched in all directions. Downtown's lights glittering to the north, the dark sprawl of industrial zones to the south. This bridge connected nothing important to nowhere significant. Just rusted metal over half-frozen water, the kind of place where bad things happen because no one was watching. The man had the woman pressed against the railing now. His voice carried despite the wind. "You think you can just leave me? You think you can take my daughter and disappear?" "She's not your daughter," the woman choked out. "You were never her father." The slap echoed. Chad's jaw tightened, 20 feet away, 15. The woman's face came into focus, mid-20s, auburn hair tangled with snow, blood at the corner of her mouth. Pretty once, maybe. Now just exhausted. Used up. The kind of beauty that poverty and fear had slowly erased. She saw Chad approaching. Her eyes widened. Not with hope, but with new fear. Because a man like Chad Scott, in a $3,000 coat and Italian leather shoes, walking alone on a South Side bridge at 11 p.m., could only mean one thing. More danger. 10 feet. The man still hadn't noticed him. Too focused on his victim, on his power, on the small and pathetic control he had over someone who couldn't fight back. Chad knew the type. They always went for the weak. Always. "You're gonna learn. Let her go." The man spun. He was younger than Chad expected. Mid-30s, athletic build, buzz cut, wearing what looked like off-duty police or military casual. Tattoos crawled up his neck. His eyes were bloodshot, pupils too wide. Cocaine, probably. Maybe meth. "The fuck are you?" he snarled. Chad didn't answer. He rarely explained himself. Explanations were for people who needed justification. "I said let her go." The man laughed. Actually laughed. "You want to be a hero, rich boy? Go back to your fancy car and—" He didn't finish. Chad moved like violence was a language he'd spoken since birth. Which it was. 3 steps. 1 strike. The man's head snapped back, blood exploding from his nose. He released the woman, stumbled, reached for something in his coat. Chad had the gun out of the man's waistband before he could blink. "Don't," Chad said quietly. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact. The man froze. Recognition dawned slowly in his eyes, fear replacing bravado. He'd seen Chad's face before, maybe on the news during one of the federal investigations that never quite stuck. Maybe whispered about in the kinds of bars where criminals drank. You're Chad Scott. And you're touching someone under my protection now." Chad's voice was winter itself. Cold, inevitable, without mercy. "Walk away. Don't look back. Don't come near her again. Or I'll make sure you disappear in a way that makes your mother spend the rest of her life wondering if you're alive somewhere. Suffering." The specificity of the threat landed like a blade. The man looked at the woman one more time. Chad saw the calculation in his eyes. Was she worth dying for? Was his pride worth more than his life? It took him 3 seconds to decide. He ran. Chad watched until he disappeared into the darkness beyond the bridge. Then he turned to the woman. She'd collapsed against the railing, one hand pressed to her throat where bruises were already forming. Her breathing came in sharp, painful gasps. She watched him with the wary stillness of an animal that had been beaten too many times to trust kindness. "Your daughter's in my car," Chad said. "She's safe." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Emma. Oh God. Emma. I told her to hide. She found me instead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She shouldn't have bothered you. I can just—" The woman tried to stand, legs shaking. She got halfway up before her knees buckled. Chad caught her. She flinched violently at his touch. Full-body recoil, the kind that came from years of hands that only hurt. He released her immediately, stepped back, kept his palms visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. She laughed. It was a broken sound. "Men like you always say that." "Men like me?" "Dangerous ones." "Fair enough. What's your name?" She hesitated. Giving a name meant becoming real, becoming memorable. Prey didn't want to be memorable. "Taylor," she whispered finally. "Taylor Stone." "Where do you live, Taylor Stone?" She looked away. "Nowhere, right now. We were staying at a shelter, but he found us, so we left. And I thought maybe if we just kept walking." Her voice cracked. "I thought we'd be okay if we kept moving." Chad looked at her. Really looked. The thin coat, the worn sneakers with holes at the toes, the bruises in various stages of healing, up and down her arms. Emma's torn pink coat wasn't an accident or bad luck. This was poverty, real poverty. Welcome to Chicago's Invisible, where mothers walked bridges at night because shelters weren't safe, and home was wherever their daughters weren't crying from cold. Behind him, in his Mercedes, a little girl sat in leather seats worth more than Taylor had probably earned in 6 months. Waited for her mother with the kind of hope that broke grown men. Chad made decisions quickly. It was how. He'd survived 33 years in a world that killed the hesitant. "You're coming with me." Taylor's head snapped up. "What?" "You and your daughter. You're coming with me. I have a place. Secure. Warm. He won't find you there." "I can't. I don't even know you." "You know I just saved your life. And I'm grateful. I am. But I can't just go with a strange man to a strange place with my daughter." "Your daughter is 4 years old," Chad interrupted. "It's 15 degrees. You have nowhere to go. That man will come back. Maybe not tonight, but soon." He held her gaze. "I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to trust yourself to keep your daughter alive. Right now, that means getting off this bridge. Welcome to Crimson Tales, where second chances aren't just for the innocent. They're for the broken, the dangerous, and the ones brave enough to change. If this story already has your heart racing, hit that like button. Subscribe so you never miss a story that'll make you believe in redemption, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Now let's see how one desperate night changed 3 lives forever. Taylor looked toward the Mercedes. Through the tinted windows, she could barely make out Emma's small silhouette. She looked at Chad, at this man in expensive clothes who'd appeared like some dark angel exactly when she'd stopped praying for miracles. "Just for tonight," she said finally. "Tomorrow, we'll figure something else out." Chad nodded. He knew better than to argue. Tonight would become tomorrow. Tomorrow would become a week. A week would become the moment this exhausted mother realized that leaving meant going back to Bridges, and men with cocaine eyes, and daughters who screamed for help from strangers. He walked back to the Mercedes, unlocked it. Emma burst out before he could say a word, running past him toward her mother. "Mommy." Taylor dropped to her knees, caught her daughter, held her like she was the only solid thing left in the universe. Emma's small hands patted her mother's face, checking for damage with the terrible expertise of a child who'd done this before. "Did the bad man leave?" Emma whispered. "Yes, baby. He left." "Is the nice man going to help us now?" Taylor looked up at Chad over her daughter's curls. Her eyes held a question she didn't ask aloud. "What kind of man are you, really?" Chad didn't answer. He'd learned long ago that men like him were defined by actions, not explanations. "Get in," he said quietly. "It's cold." Taylor stood, lifted Emma, walked to the Mercedes on shaking legs. She paused at the door. "Why are you helping us?" Chad looked at her, at Emma, at the bridge behind them where snow was already covering the blood from the man's broken nose. "Because someone should have helped my mother," he said, "and no one did." He got behind the wheel before Taylor could respond. Started the engine. Heat flooded the interior immediately. Expensive cars warmed fast. In, the rearview mirror. Emma was already falling asleep, head on her mother's shoulder. Taylor stared out the window as they pulled away from the bridge, watching it disappear into the snowy darkness like a bad dream. She didn't know she was sitting in the car of Chicago's most dangerous man. She didn't know that the father she'd lost 2 years ago had been a banking compliance officer who'd accidentally flagged and frozen $8 million belonging to Billy Brown, Chad's most violent rival. She didn't know that Ethan, the man who'd just tried to kill her, worked for Brown as an enforcer. She didn't know that stepping into this Mercedes meant stepping into a war she hadn't even known existed. All Taylor knew was that, for the first time in 4 years, her daughter felt warm. And sometimes, survival started with something as simple as heat. The mansion sat 30 minutes outside Chicago's South Side, hidden behind iron gates and oak trees that looked like they'd been standing since, before the city had a name. Taylor pressed her face to the window as they pulled up the driveway, watching the house emerge from the darkness like something from a movie she'd never be able to afford a ticket to. 3 stories. Stone facade. windows that glowed gold from within. The driveway alone was longer than the entire block where she'd grown up. Emma stirred in her arms. "Mommy, is this a castle?" "No, baby, just a house." Chad parked in front of massive double doors, killed the engine. The silence felt heavy, expensive. "The guest wing is upstairs," he said without looking back. "Second door on the left, bathroom attached. I'll have food sent up." "You don't have to." "I'll have food sent up," he repeated. Not unkind, but final. Taylor unbuckled Emma, stepped out into cold that bit less sharply here, sheltered by trees and stone. Her sneakers crunched on gravel that probably cost more per square foot than her last apartment's rent. Chad opened the front door. Warmth spilled out, carrying the scent of wood polish and something cooking. Garlic, maybe butter. Taylor's stomach clenched. She couldn't remember the last time she'd smelled food that wasn't from a shelter kitchen or a dollar menu. Inside, the foyer stretched up 2 stories. Chandelier overhead, casting light that didn't flicker or buzz. Hardwood floors that gleamed. Stairs with an iron railing that curved like a question mark. Emma's grip on Taylor's neck tightened. She wasn't used to spaces this big. Spaces where sound echoed instead of being absorbed by thin walls and neighbors yelling. "Come on," Chad said, already climbing the stairs. Taylor followed, her legs still shaking from the bridge. Each step felt surreal. Hours ago, she'd been walking frozen streets, trying to figure out which shelter might have beds available. Now she was walking through a mansion with a man whose last name she didn't even know. The guest room made Taylor want to cry. King bed with white linens that looked cloud-soft. Thick carpet. Windows with actual curtains, not sheets tacked up with thumbtacks. A dresser. A mirror. A door leading to a bathroom where she could see marble countertops. Emma wiggled down, ran to the bed, climbed up. "Mommy, it's so big." "Emma, careful, don't—" "Let her," Chad said from the doorway. "She's 4. Let her be 4. Taylor turned. He stood with his hands in his coat pockets, watching them with an expression she couldn't read. Not quite warm, but not cold either. Calculating, maybe. Like he was trying to solve an equation. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked quietly. "I told you why. No one helps strangers like this, not without wanting something." Chad's jaw tightened. "You're right. Most people don't." He pulled his hands from his pockets, and Taylor flinched before she could stop herself. He noticed. Of course he noticed. "I'm going to reach into my coat," he said slowly, clearly. "I'm taking out my phone, that's all." Taylor nodded, hating how her body betrayed her. Chad pulled out an iPhone, typed something, pocketed it again. "Food will be here in 10 minutes. There are clothes in the closet. Previous owner left them. Should be close to your size. Bathroom has everything you need." He paused. "Locks work from the inside. Use them if it makes you feel safer." "And tomorrow?" "Tomorrow we talk about what happens next." "I can't stay here," Taylor said. "I appreciate what you did tonight, I really do. But I can't just—" "Where will you go?" Chad asked. Not challenging. Genuinely asking. Taylor opened her mouth, closed it. She had $43 in her pocket. No car, no apartment. The shelter had a 3-night maximum stay, and she'd already used 2 nights this month. "I'll figure something out," she said. "I always do." "Emma's losing weight." Taylor's head snapped up. "What?" "Her coat doesn't fit right, hangs off her shoulders, and she fell asleep in the car within 5 minutes. That's not normal tiredness. That's exhaustion." "When did she last eat a full meal?" Anger flared in Taylor's chest, hot and defensive. "I feed my daughter." "I didn't say you don't. I said when." "Yesterday. We had McDonald's. Before that? Taylor looked away. That's none of your business. You're in my house. It's my business now. I didn't ask for this. No, Chad agreed. You asked for help on a bridge. I'm giving it. Don't make me regret opening my door. The words landed like a slap. Taylor bit her lip, tasting blood where Ethan had split it hours ago. On the bed, Emma had gone quiet, sensing tension the way children always did. I'm sorry, Taylor whispered. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this. Accept help. Trust people. I've been on my own with her for so long. Chad's expression softened slightly. You're not on your own anymore. Not tonight, at least. A knock at the door. A woman in her 50s entered, carrying a tray that smelled like heaven. Soup. Bread. Something chocolate. Mr. Scott, she said with a nod. Then, to Taylor, I'm Marie. I manage the house. If you need anything, press 9 on the phone by the bed. She set the tray on the dresser, gave Emma a warm smile, and left as quietly as she'd come. Chad moved toward the door. Eat. Sleep. We'll talk in the morning. Wait, Taylor said. He paused. What's your last name? Scott. Chad Scott. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Chad is fine. He looked at Emma, who'd climbed off the bed and was staring at the food with wide eyes. She can have as much as she wants. Tell Marie if you need more. Then he was gone, door clicking shut behind him. Taylor locked it immediately, heard the deadbolt slide home. Only then did she allow herself to breathe. Emma tugged her hand. Mommy, can we eat now? Yeah, baby, we can eat. They sat on the carpet. The bed felt too nice to risk spilling on, and ate soup that tasted like someone's grandmother made it. Emma devoured 2 bowls, half a loaf of bread, and was working on the chocolate cake when her eyes started drooping. Taylor carried her to the bathroom, ran water that came out hot immediately. No waiting, no praying the boiler worked. She washed Emma's face, her hands, helped her into pajamas she found in the closet that were too big but clean and soft. By the time she tucked Emma into bed, her daughter was already asleep. Taylor stood there, watching her chest rise and fall. No coughing, no shivering. Just clean, warm sleep in a room that didn't smell like mold or someone else's cigarettes. She walked to the window, pulled back the curtain. Outside, snow fell steady and thick. The city glowed in the distance, a million lights that used to feel like possibility, but had become just another reminder of everything she couldn't have. Down below, she saw Chad standing in the driveway, phone to his ear. Even from here, his posture screamed authority. He gestured sharply, said something that made whoever was on the other end shut up and listen. Taylor wondered, not for the first time, what kind of man he really was. What kind of business let you have a mansion like this? What kind of life taught you to move like violence was breathing? What kind of past made you open your door to strangers on bridges? She should leave. First thing tomorrow, she should take Emma and disappear before whatever this was got complicated. But God, the bed looked soft, and Emma was sleeping without nightmares for the first time in weeks. And Taylor was so tired of being strong. Maybe, she thought, maybe just one more night. She didn't know that downstairs, Chad was ordering surveillance on every location Ethan had been seen in the last month. She didn't know he'd already pulled her records, knew about her father, the banking job, the frozen accounts, the connection to Billy Brown. She didn't know that by accepting his help, she'd already stepped into a web that wouldn't let her go. All Taylor knew was that tonight, her daughter slept warm, and tomorrow could wait. Taylor woke to sunlight. Real sunlight, not the gray filter of dirt on windows or the fluorescent buzz of shelter lights. This was golden, warm, spilling across white sheets that smelled like lavender instead of industrial bleach. For 3 perfect seconds, She forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back. The bridge. Ethan's hands on her throat. The stranger with winter eyes who'd made a promise and kept it. Emma was still sleeping, curled into a ball, one hand clutching the teddy bear that had lost an eye 2 months ago when they'd been evicted. Taylor had sewn it back on with dental floss. It was all she had. Her phone said 8:43 a.m. They'd slept almost 10 hours. A soft knock at the door made her freeze. Yes? It's Marie, dear. I have breakfast if you're awake. Taylor unlocked the door carefully. Marie stood with another tray. Eggs, toast, fruit that looked like it cost more than Taylor's weekly grocery budget used to be. Mr. Scott asked me to let you know he'll be in his office when you're ready to talk. Marie set the tray down, her eyes kind. Take your time. No rush. After she left, Taylor ate mechanically, her mind spinning. She needed a plan, needed to figure out what came next. Staying here wasn't an option. She'd learned the hard way that kindness always came with a price tag. Emma woke up, confused for a moment before remembering. Mommy, we're still in the castle? It's not a castle, baby, but yes, we're still here. Can we stay forever? No, sweetheart. Just a little while. After breakfast, Taylor showered in a bathroom bigger than her last bedroom, dressed in clothes from the closet that fit surprisingly well. Jeans, a soft gray sweater, socks that were actually thick. She braided Emma's hair, took a breath, and went to find Chad Scott's office. Marie pointed her down a hallway lined with photographs. Chicago skyline, old Italian streets, a woman with dark hair who had Chad's eyes. His mother, maybe. The office door was open. Chad sat behind a desk made of dark wood. Papers spread in front of him, phone to his ear. He wore a black shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms marked with old scars. When he saw her, he ended the call without saying goodbye. You slept well. Yes, thank you. Taylor stood in the doorway, Emma half hidden behind her legs. Listen, Mr. Scott. Chad, I appreciate everything you've done, really, but we should go. I can find somewhere. Sit down, Taylor. It wasn't a request. She sat. Emma climbed into her lap, watching Chad with the unfiltered curiosity only children had. You're very tall, Emma announced. Chad's mouth almost smiled. You're very small. I'm 4.5. Mommy says I'm growing. That's good. You should grow. Emma seemed satisfied with this. Taylor felt like she was in a dream, watching a man who moved like death itself talk to her daughter about growing up. Chad leaned back, studying them. The man from last night. Ethan. How long were you with him? Taylor's stomach dropped. I don't see how that's... Answer the question. 2 years. On and off. Mostly on. She hated how small her voice sounded. He wasn't always like that. At first, he was... different. They always are. The understanding in his tone caught her off guard. This wasn't judgment. This was recognition. When did it get bad? Chad asked. About 6 months ago. He lost his job, started drinking more, got angry about everything. Taylor paused. I left 3 times. He always found us. That's because he had help finding you. What? Chad pulled a folder from his desk drawer, slid it across. Ethan Collins, former Army MP. Dishonorable discharge for excessive force. Currently employed as an enforcer for Billy Brown. Taylor stared at the file. Photos of Ethan with other men in suits, outside buildings she didn't recognize. I don't understand. Billy Brown runs most of the South Side. Drugs, protection, loan sharking. He's been trying to expand north for years. I've been stopping him. Chad tapped the photo. Your ex-boyfriend works for my enemy. That's not a coincidence. The room tilted slightly. You think Ethan What? Used me? I think he found you on purpose. Your father was David Stone, yes? Worked at First Chicago Bank? How did he know that? Yes, Taylor whispered. 2 years ago, your father flagged a series of transactions as suspicious. $8 million, funneled through shell companies. He froze the accounts, filed reports with federal regulators. Chad's eyes held hers. That money belonged to Billy Brown. Your father cost him $8 million and nearly brought a federal investigation down on his operation. Taylor couldn't breathe. My father, he died of a heart attack. The doctors said heart attacks can be induced. Chad's voice gentlened slightly. I'm not saying they were. I'm saying Brown had motive. And 6 months after your father dies, Ethan Collins shows up in your life. You don't think that's connected? Emma squirmed in her lap. Mommy, you're holding too tight. Taylor loosened her grip, her mind reeling. If what you're saying is true, why would Brown care about me? My father's dead. The money's gone. Because banking systems keep detailed logs. Your father documented everything. Those records still exist, and if they surface, they're evidence. Brown doesn't know where they are, but he knows your father might have told you something, left you something. He didn't. I would. No. Would you? Chad leaned forward. Think carefully. Before he died, did your father give you anything unusual? Ask you to keep something safe? Mention passwords, access codes, safety deposit boxes? Taylor's mind raced back. The hospital. Her father pale against white sheets, tubes everywhere. His last words had been garbled, confused. Something about always keeping promises and checking the birdhouse. Her father had built Emma a birdhouse for her 2nd birthday. Painted it blue. Hung it in Taylor's tiny backyard where she'd lived before the eviction started. Check the birdhouse when spring comes, he'd said, squeezing her hand. She'd thought he was delirious, confused. Dying people said strange things. She'd left the birdhouse behind when she'd been evicted 8 months ago. Never thought about it again. Until now. Taylor. Chad's voice cut through her thoughts. Did you remember something? No. She lied automatically. Nothing. He didn't believe her. She could see it in his eyes, the way they narrowed slightly, calculating. But he didn't push. Here's your situation, Chad said. Brown thinks you have access to evidence that could destroy him. Ethan was supposed to find it by getting close to you. When that failed, he escalated to violence. That's what last night was. Not jealousy or rage. Interrogation. That's insane. That's reality. Chad stood, walked to the window overlooking the grounds. You can't go back to your life. The moment you leave, here, Brown's people will find you. And this time, they won't stop at beating you. They'll take Emma. Terror, white-hot and immediate, shot through Taylor's chest. She pulled Emma closer. No, I won't let that happen. Then stay. Chad turned to face her. Stay here, where I can protect you. Give me time to figure out what Brown's really after and how to stop him. Why would you do that? You don't know me. I know enough. His gaze shifted to Emma, who was drawing shapes on Taylor's palm, with her finger. I know you kept her fed even when you went hungry. I know you walked frozen streets instead of staying somewhere he might find you. I know you've survived things that would break most people. He paused. And I know what happens to children when their mothers disappear. I lived it. The rawness in his voice made Taylor's throat tight. If I stay, she said carefully, what do you want from me? The truth. If you remember something your father said or gave you, tell me. Don't hide it. He crossed his arms. Brown won't stop, but if we find what he's looking for first, We can use it against him. Emma tugged Taylor's sleeve. Mommy, I'm hungry again. You just ate, baby? But my tummy's still rumbly. Chad pressed a button on his desk. Marie's voice came through a speaker. Yes, Mr. Scott? Emma's hungry. Could you bring her something? Of course. I just made cookies. Chocolate chip. Emma's eyes went wide. Real cookies? Real cookies, Chad confirmed. To Taylor. Marie makes them fresh every Sunday. You're going to love her more than you love me by the end of the week. It was the first almost joke he'd made. Taylor found herself smiling despite everything. Marie arrived with cookies still warm from the oven. Emma ate 3, got chocolate on her face, didn't apologize or shrink when Marie laughed and wiped it away. Watching her daughter act like a normal 4-year-old, carefree, messy, loud, broke something in Taylor's chest she hadn't known was still intact. Maybe, she thought, maybe just a week. What she didn't know was that Chad had already assigned 2 men to surveillance on Billy Brown's operations, had already started planning how to dismantle an empire built on fear, and what neither of them knew was that somewhere across the city, Brown was making his own plans. The game was already in motion, and Taylor Stone, whether she wanted to be or not, was at the center. 3 days passed like a fever dream. Taylor kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Chad to demand payment, for his kindness to reveal teeth, for the mansion to transform from sanctuary into cage. But it never happened. Instead, she woke each morning to Marie's soft knocks, ate breakfast with Emma, who'd discovered she loved scrambled eggs with cheese, spent afternoons in the library while her daughter played with toys that had appeared in the guest room overnight. Nothing extravagant, just blocks and books and a stuffed elephant Emma named Mr. Trunk. Chad was rarely around during the day. Business, Marie said, without elaborating. But he came home each evening around 6, disappeared into his office, emerged for dinner. That was the strangest part. Dinner. Every night at 7, Marie set the dining room table. Chad sat at the head, Taylor and Emma on either side, like they were a family instead of strangers bound by violence and circumstance. The first night, Emma had stared at the chandelier. Do stars live in there? Chad had looked up, considering. No, but they could visit. Do they knock first? Always. Stars are polite. Emma had giggled. Taylor had felt something dangerous bloom in her chest, something that felt like hope. By the third night, Emma talked through the entire meal, about the birds outside, about how Mr. Trunk needed a bow tie, about how Marie let her help make cookies, and she only ate a little bit of the dough, she promised. Chad listened like she was sharing state secrets. Taylor watched this man, this terrifying, powerful man who'd saved her life, cut his steak with precision while a 4-year-old explained that elephants could technically fly if they believed hard enough, and something inside her shifted. On the 4th morning, Taylor found Chad in the gym. She hadn't meant to. She'd been exploring. Marie said the whole house was open to her, and followed the sound of impact down a hallway she hadn't taken before. The gym was large, industrial. Weights, machines, a boxing ring in the corner. Chad stood at a heavy bag, shirtless, hitting it with controlled violence. Each strike landed with a thud that echoed. Sweat gleamed on his shoulders, his back, and scars. So many scars. Long ones across his ribs, small circles on his shoulder that looked like cigarette burns, a jagged line down his spine that must have required surgery. He noticed her watching. Stopped mid-strike. Didn't reach for a shirt. Morning, he said, breathing hard. I didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't. He unwrapped his hands, the tape stained with old blood. Emma still sleeping? Yeah, she crashed early last night. That bath Marie ran for her was basically a spa. Chad almost smiled. Marie spoils everyone, It's her superpower. Taylor stepped inside, drawn by something she didn't want to name. Can I ask you something? You can ask. Why do you live alone in a house this big? Chad grabbed a towel, wiped his face. I don't like people. You like Marie. Marie's the exception. Emma too? Emma's 4. 4-year-olds get a pass. And me? The question hung between them. Chad looked at her for a long moment, something complicated moving behind his eyes. You're the exception too, he said quietly. Taylor's heart did something stupid, something dangerous. Those scars, she said, gesturing to his back. How did... My father. Chad said it matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. He had opinions about discipline, sharp ones. The casualness of it made it worse somehow. Taylor took a step closer without meaning to. Chad, don't. He held up a hand. Don't do the pity thing. I don't need it. I'm not pitying you. I'm understanding you. Yeah? Challenge in his voice now. What do you understand? That you open doors because no one opened them for you. That you protect Emma because no one protected you. That you hate showing weakness because weakness got you hurt. Taylor held his gaze. I understand that we're not so different. You survived your father. I survived Ethan. We're both just trying to keep the people we love safe from the people who damaged us. Something cracked in Chad's expression. For just a second, the armor fell, and Taylor saw the 7-year-old boy who'd watched his mother die. Then it was gone. I need a shower, he said, voice rough. Marie's making French toast. Emma will eat the entire plate if you don't get there first. He walked past her, careful not to touch, disappeared through a door. Taylor stood there, heart pounding, feeling like she'd just seen something sacred and secret and not meant for daylight. That night at dinner, Chad was quiet. Emma filled the silence by teaching him a song about ducks. He listened, occasionally correcting her when she forgot words, which made Emma giggle and start over. After Emma went to bed, clutching Mr. Trunk, already half asleep before her head hit the pillow, Taylor found Chad on the back terrace. The city glowed in the distance. Temperature had dropped. Chad stood, with his hands in his pockets, breath misting. She's asleep, Taylor said. She always crashes hard. It's the food. Her body's catching up. Taylor joined him at the railing. Thank you for all of this. I don't think I've said that enough. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. She hesitated, then decided to jump. I remember something. About my father. Chad turned, fully focused now. What? Before he died, he told me to check the birdhouse when spring came. I thought he was confused. But now... She wrapped her arms around herself. I think he hid something there. Records, maybe. Evidence. Where's the birdhouse? My old house. 1523 Ashland Avenue. I was evicted 8 months ago. I don't know if the new tenants kept it or... I'll find out. Chad. She touched his arm before thinking. He went still. What happens when you find whatever he hid? What happens to me and Emma? His jaw tightened. You stay safe. That's what happens. And then? Then we figure out your next step. You mean leaving. I mean whatever you want. He looked at her hand on his arm, didn't pull away. Taylor, I'm not holding you here. You can walk out tomorrow if that's what you want. But Brown doesn't stop hunting just because you're inconvenient. You need protection until he's handled. And how long will that take? As long as it takes. Taylor let her hand drop. I don't know how to do this. Accept help. Trust someone. The last man I trusted tried to kill me. I'm not him. I know. That's what scares me. She laughed, but it sounded broken. You're scarier than him, Chad. You're dangerous in ways Ethan could never be. And my daughter looks at you like you hung the moon. What happens when we leave and she asks where you went? When she wonders why the nice man doesn't read her bedtime stories anymore? Chad was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was low. My mother used to tell me that safety wasn't a place. It was a person. Someone who made you feel like you could breathe. He turned to face her fully. Emma sleeps without nightmares here. You eat without fear. That's not charity, Taylor. That's what life's supposed to feel like. Life doesn't feel like this, not for people like me. Maybe it should. The words settled between them, heavy with meaning. Taylor looked at this man who'd built walls so high no one could scale them, and she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she'd found a crack. "Good night, Chad," she whispered. "Good night, Taylor." She walked inside, leaving him to the cold and the city lights. Neither of them saw the car parked 3 blocks away, camera lens trained on the terrace. Neither of them knew Billy Brown was watching. The countdown had already started. The birdhouse was gone. Chad's men had checked the property on Ashland Avenue. New tenants, a young couple who'd repainted everything, cleaned out the yard. No birdhouse, no evidence, no leads. Taylor took the news with the hollow calm of someone who'd stopped expecting good things. "Maybe it's better," she said, staring at nothing. "Maybe my father was just confused, and I'm making up connections that don't exist." Chad didn't argue, but he doubled security anyway. Emma noticed the changes first. The way new cars appeared on the street. The way Marie suddenly insisted on driving them if they wanted to go anywhere. The way Chad's jaw stayed tight through dinner. "Is the bad man coming back?" Emma asked one night, tucked into bed, with Mr. Trunk. Taylor's heart broke. "No, baby, you're safe here. Promise?" "I promise." But promises, Taylor had learned, were just words people said before everything fell apart. The call came on a Thursday. Taylor was in the library, reading while Emma napped, when Chad appeared in the doorway. His expression made her stomach drop. "We need to talk." She followed him to his office. He closed the door, locked it. "Brown knows you're here," he said without preamble. The room tilted. "How?" "Photos. Someone's been watching the house. They have pictures of you, Emma, me." He pulled out his phone, showed her. Taylor on the terrace. Emma playing in the yard. Chad carrying groceries. They looked like a family. "What does he want?" Taylor whispered. "To negotiate. He called an hour ago. Said if I hand you over, he'll back off his expansion efforts. Let me keep the South Side without a fight." Terror crawled up Taylor's spine. "And if you don't?" "He comes for Emma first." The words landed like bullets. "No." Taylor stood shaking. "No, you can't let him. I'm not letting him do anything." Chad's voice cut through her panic. "But he's escalating. This isn't about evidence anymore. It's about power. You're in my house under my protection. That makes you a statement. Brown wants to prove he can take what's mine." "I'm not yours," Taylor said automatically. "Aren't you?" The question hung between them, too complicated to answer. Chad moved to his desk, pulled out a folder. "I have a plan. But you need to trust me." "What kind of plan?" "The kind where we hit him before he hits us." He opened the folder. Photos of buildings, financial records, names Taylor didn't recognize. Brown runs his operation out of 3 main locations. Warehouses where he stores product, counts money, coordinates his people. If we take those out, we cripple him. Take them out how? Raids, anonymous tips to the feds. I have contacts who owe me favors. We funnel information. Let law enforcement do the heavy lifting. "That's not how men like you operate," Taylor said. You're talking about using the law. You hate the law. I do, Chad agreed. But I hate the idea of Emma getting hurt more. The admission hung in the air. Taylor sank into a chair. If we do this, if we go after Brown, he'll retaliate. He'll come after all of us. He's already coming. This just changes the timeline. Chad crouched in front of her, eye level, the way he always did with Emma. Taylor, I've done things that keep me awake at night. Hurt people. Destroyed lives. I'm not a good man. But I'm good at protecting what matters. And you matter. Emma matters. Why? The question broke out of her. Why do we matter to you? His gray eyes held hers. Because watching Emma learn to laugh again reminds me that not everything in this world is broken. Because you look at me like I'm human instead of a weapon. Because... He paused, seemed to struggle with the words. Because my mother died, thinking no one cared if she lived. I can't save her, but I can save you. Taylor's vision blurred. Chad, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She thought about the bridge, the warmth of his car, Emma sleeping without nightmares, the way he listened when her daughter talked about elephants and stars. Yes, she whispered. I trust you. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Okay. Then here's what happens next. He laid out the plan. Coordinated raids in 3 days. Federal agents would hit Brown's warehouses simultaneously. Seize product, arrest key players, freeze assets. It wouldn't destroy Brown completely, but it would hurt him enough to make him vulnerable. And me? Taylor asked. You stay here, with Emma, extra security. You don't leave the house until it's done. That's it? I just wait? You keep my daughter safe, Chad said. Then stopped, realizing his mistake. Emma. You keep Emma safe. But the words were already out. My daughter. Taylor saw it in his eyes, the moment he recognized what he'd said, what it meant. How in less than 2 weeks, a little girl with chocolate on her face had become his, in ways that had nothing to do with blood. She's not yours, Taylor said softly, but without accusation. I know. Chad stood, putting distance between them. But she feels like she is, and that's dangerous. For all of us. Before Taylor could respond, alarms blared. Chad's phone lit up. He answered, listened, his expression going cold. Stay here, he ordered. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me or Marie. What's happening? Brown's not waiting for negotiations. Chad pulled a gun from his desk drawer, checked the magazine. He's here. Terror seized Taylor. Emma. Marie's with her. They're in the safe room. You need to go, now. He pushed her toward a panel in the wall she'd never noticed. Pressed something. It slid open, revealing a narrow hallway. Follow this to the end. Code is 4792. Don't open the door for anyone. Else. Chad, what about you? I'll handle this. He looked at her, and for just a second, the armor dropped completely. If something happens to me, there's a phone in the safe room. Speed dial 1. His name is Marcus. He'll get you and Emma somewhere safe. Offshore accounts, new identities, everything you need. You're talking like you're going to die. I'm talking like I'm prepared. He touched her face, just once. Gentle. Go. Taylor ran. The hallway was dark, narrow, clearly built for emergencies. She heard shouting behind her. Gunfire. The sound of breaking glass. The code panel glowed green. She punched in 4792. The door opened. Emma was there, in Marie's arms, crying. Mommy! Taylor grabbed her, held her close. Marie's face was pale but calm. Mr. Scott will handle this. More gunfire. Closer this time. Emma buried her face in Taylor's neck. Make it stop, Mommy. Please make it stop. It's okay, baby. We're safe, Chad promised. But promises, Taylor, remembered too late, were just words. And outside, in the mansion where she'd finally felt warm, the war had begun. The safe room was small, 12 by 12, reinforced walls, no windows. Security monitors showed different angles of the house. Taylor watched Chad move through rooms with terrifying efficiency, gun raised, taking down men in black who'd breached the perimeter. He moved like death had a body and learned choreography. Emma had finally stopped crying, but her hands clutched Taylor's, shirt so tight her knuckles were white. Marie sat with her eyes closed, praying in French under her breath. On the screen, Chad disappeared into a blind spot. Then nothing. Seconds ticked into minutes. Taylor's heart hammered against her ribs. Then, a figure appeared on the monitor. Not Chad. Someone bigger, with a gun trained on the hallway leading toward them. He's coming, Taylor whispered. Marie stood, positioned herself between Taylor and the door. If he gets through, you run. Code to the back exit is 2984. Take Emma, don't look back. I'm not leaving you. You'll do what keeps that child alive. The door handle rattled. Someone testing it. Checking. Emma whimpered. Taylor covered her mouth gently. Shh, baby. Quiet game, remember? On the monitor, another angle showed Chad reappearing. He was bleeding from his shoulder but moving fast. 3 men chased him. He turned a corner, disappeared. Then an explosion rocked the house. The lights in the safe room flickered. Monitors went dark for 3 seconds before backup power kicked in. When the screens came back, bodies littered the hallway. Chad stood over them, breathing hard, blood running down his arm. He looked directly at a camera, nodded once. We're clear. But the door handle rattled again. Chad's voice came through a speaker Taylor hadn't noticed. Taylor, the man outside is mine. Let him in. She recognized the code phrase, something Chad had taught her the second day. The man outside is mine meant friend. The man outside is here meant enemy. She unlocked the door. A man stepped in. Late 40s, scarred face, kind eyes. Marcus, Mr. Scott sent me to escort you upstairs. Is he... He's alive. Needs stitches, but alive. Come on. The house was a war zone. Bullet holes in walls, shattered glass, blood on the marble floors that Marie would spend days scrubbing. Emma kept her face buried in Taylor's neck, refusing to look. Chad sat in the kitchen, shirt off, while a man who looked like a doctor stitched his shoulder with efficient precision. How bad? Marcus asked. Through and through. I'll live. Chad's eyes found Taylor. You okay? We're fine. Are they gone? Dead or arrested. Brown sent 8 men. Should have sent 80. He winced as the needle went through. This was a message. He's not backing down. Then what do? We hit him tomorrow. Can't wait 3 more days. He knows we're planning something. The doctor finished, bandaged the wound, left without speaking. Chad rolled his shoulder, testing it. You're still going through with the raids? Taylor asked. More than that. Chad stood, pulled on a clean shirt. I'm going after Brown directly. No more intermediaries. No more games. That's suicide. That's survival. He tried to kill you tonight. Tried to take Emma. I'm not waiting for him to try again. Taylor set Emma down. Her daughter immediately ran to Chad, wrapped arms around his legs. You're bleeding. Just a scratch. Like when I fell and scraped my knee? Exactly like that. Emma looked up at him with absolute trust. Marie says you're the bravest man in Chicago. Marie exaggerates. What's exaggerates mean? Means she thinks I'm braver than I am. But you are brave. You saved us. Something in Chad's expression cracked. He crouched down, ignoring the pain in his shoulder, brought himself to Emma's level. You know what real bravery is? It's being scared and doing the hard thing anyway. Like your mom. She's the bravest person I know. Emma considered this. Can you be brave tomorrow too? I'll try. Promise? He looked at Taylor over Emma's head. I promise. After Marie took Emma upstairs for a bath. She needs normal right now, Marie said firmly. Taylor found Chad on the terrace again. He stood in the same spot as before, hands in pockets, looking at the city. You can't go after Brown alone, Taylor said. I'm not going alone. I have 20 men and a plan. A plan that involves you walking into his headquarters and doing what? Asking nicely? A plan that involves making him choose between his empire and his life. Chad turned. Brown's operation depends on 3 things: money, fear, and anonymity. Take away one, the others fall. I'm taking away all 3. How? By offering him a deal he can't refuse. I have evidence, financial records, names of everyone he's paid off, recordings of him ordering hits. Everything the feds need to bury him for life. Chad's smile was cold. I'm giving him a choice. Disappear permanently, leave Chicago, or I hand everything to law enforcement and he dies in federal prison. He'll never agree. He will, because the alternative is me killing him, and I'll make it very clear that's still on the table. Taylor shook her head. This is insane. This is the only way. He moved closer. Taylor, men like Brown don't respond to mercy. They respond to power. I need to show him that protecting you costs him everything he's built. Once he understands that, he'll walk away. And if he doesn't, then I make good on the alternative. Taylor's hands trembled. I don't want you to die for us. I'm not planning to die. His voice softened. But if something happens, don't do that. Don't say goodbye when you're standing right in front of me. Taylor, I mean it. She grabbed his shirt, felt his warmth, his solidity. You don't get to make Emma love you and then disappear. You don't get to make me... She stopped. Make you what? The question hung between them, dangerous and inevitable. Trust you, Taylor finished, though they both knew that wasn't what she'd almost said. Chad's hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. When this is over, when Brown's gone, and Emma's safe, and you don't have to be afraid anymore, we'll talk about what this is, what it could be. What if there's no when this is over? What if tomorrow... He kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't soft. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like promises neither of them could guarantee. Taylor kissed him back, fisting his shirt, pulling him closer, trying to memorize the feeling of being held like she mattered. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Chad pressed his forehead to hers. I'm coming back, he whispered. I'm coming back because that little girl needs someone to teach her that brave men keep their promises. And because you need someone to prove that not all men hurt the things they love. Chad, go inside. Get some sleep. Tomorrow everything changes. He walked past her, disappeared into the house. Taylor stood alone on the terrace, touching her lips, tasting him, and praying to a God she'd stopped believing in years ago. Please, just this once. Let someone I love survive. Inside, Emma was already asleep, Mr. Trunk tucked under her arm. Taylor crawled into bed beside her, held her close, and tried not to think about how tomorrow might bring freedom or devastation, safety or loss. Outside, Chad made phone calls, checked weapons, prepared for war, and across the city, Billy Brown smiled, because he'd just learned something very valuable. Chad Scott had a weakness now, and weaknesses could be exploited. The meeting was set for noon at Brown's primary warehouse, a massive concrete structure on the edge of the industrial district where cargo ships unloaded and questions weren't asked. Chad arrived with Marcus and 3 other men, all armed, all aware this might be a suicide mission. He wore a black suit, moved with controlled calm, carried a briefcase containing copies of every document that could destroy Brown's empire. Brown waited inside, surrounded by a dozen armed guards. He was smaller than Chad expected. Late 50s, expensive suit, silver hair, eyes like frozen mud. He looked like a grandfather who baked cookies, not a man who'd ordered countless deaths. "Mr. Scott," Brown gestured to a chair, "you've caused me significant inconvenience. You tried to kill a woman and child under my protection. I'd say we're even." "The stone woman," Brown smiled. "She's become quite important to you. Interesting development. This isn't about her. It's about you backing off my territory." "Your territory." Brown laughed. "Chicago's a big city, Scott. Plenty of room for both of us. Not when you send men to my house. Not when you threaten children." Chad opened the briefcase, slid documents across the table. Bank records, names, photographs, recorded conversations. 2 decades of evidence, meticulously compiled. This is everything the FBI needs to build a RICO case. Every bribe, every murder, every dollar you've laundered. I have copies in 3 separate locations. If I don't walk out of here alive, they all go to federal prosecutors tomorrow morning. Brown's smile faded. He picked up the documents, read slowly. His expression went carefully blank. "You've been busy. I'm thorough. What do you want? You leave Chicago. Permanently. Tonight. Liquidate. Your operations disappear. Retire somewhere warm. Do that, and these documents stay buried. And if I refuse, then I deliver you to the feds. You'll die in prison. Isolated, forgotten, watching your empire collapse from behind bars. Or," Brown said carefully, "I kill you right now. Take the documents. Destroy them. You could try, but my men outside have orders. I don't leave, they execute Plan B. Every document goes public. Your family, your legitimate businesses, everyone you've ever paid off, all exposed. You'll have law enforcement and rivals hunting you simultaneously." Brown was quiet for a long moment. "You'd burn it all down for one woman?" "I'd burn it all down to keep my promises." "Promises," Brown sneered. "Men like us don't keep promises. We keep power." "Then maybe I'm not like you." Brown studied him, calculating. "The stone woman. Her father really cost me $8 million?" "He did." "And the evidence he gathered?" "Gone. Destroyed when the bank was audited. There's nothing left to find." It was a lie. Chad still believed David Stone had hidden something, but Brown didn't need to know that. "So this is really about protecting your new family." Brown's laugh was ugly. "You've gone soft, Scott. Love makes men weak." "No," Chad said quietly. "Fear makes men weak. Love makes them dangerous." Before Brown could respond, Chad's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Feds are moving. All 3 locations being hit now." Chad showed Brown the message. "While we've been talking, federal agents raided your warehouses, seized your product, your money, arrested your key people. By tonight, you won't have an operation left in Chicago." Brown's face went purple with rage. "You son of a—" "The deal stands. Walk away, or I make sure you never walk anywhere again." Brown's hand moved toward his waistband. Every gun in the room lifted. Silence. Then Brown laughed, a bitter, defeated sound. "You've checkmated me. I've given you an exit. Take it." Brown stood, slowly. "You'll regret this. Maybe not today, but eventually, Scott. Men like you always fall." "Maybe," but not today. Brown walked toward the door, then paused. The girl. Emma, she yours? She's under my protection. That's not what I asked. Chad met his eyes. She's mine. Brown nodded slowly. Then you know what you've done. You've given yourself a weakness. Someone will exploit it eventually. Let them try. After Brown left, Marcus approached. Think he'll actually leave? He will. He's a businessman, knows when to cut losses. Chad closed the briefcase. Make sure he gets on a plane. I don't care where he goes, as long as it's not here. And Taylor. She stays. They both stay. Marcus smiled slightly. Didn't figure you for the domestic type, boss. Neither did I. Chad returned to the mansion just before sunset. The house had been cleaned. No sign of yesterday's violence remained. Marie had outdone herself. He found Taylor in the library, reading while Emma colored at her feet. Emma saw him first. Chad! She ran, threw herself at his legs. You came back. Told you I would. Did you win? I won. Does that mean the bad man's gone? He's gone. For good. Emma's face split into a smile. So we can stay here? Forever and ever? Chad looked at Taylor over Emma's head. She stood slowly, eyes wet. That's up to your mom, he said. Taylor crossed the room, knelt beside Emma. Baby, can you go help Marie in the kitchen? She's making your favorite. Mac and, cheese? With extra cheese. Emma ran off, Mr. Trunk bouncing against her back. Once she was gone, Taylor stood. Is it really over? It's over. Brown's leaving Chicago. His operations are shut down. Federal prosecutors have enough evidence to keep his people busy for years. Chad paused. You're safe. Both of you. So, what now? Now you decide what you want. You can stay here or I can set you up somewhere else. New city, new identity, money for school, whatever you need. You're not trapped. Taylor's laugh was shaky. You're giving me an exit? I'm giving you a choice. She moved closer until they were inches apart. What if I don't want an exit? Then you stay. His voice roughened. You stay and we figure out how this works. How we become the family Emma thinks we already are. I'm broken, Chad. Damaged. I don't know if I can be what you need. I'm not asking you to be anything. I'm just asking you to be here. He cupped her face, gentle despite the violence in his hands. You made me remember what it feels like to have something worth protecting. Emma made me remember what it feels like to be someone's hero. I don't want to lose that. Don't want to lose you. Taylor kissed him. Soft this time. Slow. Full of promise instead of desperation. When they broke apart, she smiled. Okay. Okay? We'll stay. But I have conditions. Name them. Emma needs therapy. So do I. We need to process everything that happened. Ethan, the attack, all of it. Done. I'll find the best. And you need therapy too. For your mother, your father, everything you've survived. Chad grimaced. I don't. No negotiation. If we're doing this, we're all healing. Together. He sighed. Fine. And one more thing. What? The room at the end of the hall. The one you never open. I want to turn it into Emma's room. A real room. Pink walls, princess bed, whatever she wants. That room had been his mother's. He'd locked it the day she died. Never went inside. Kept it. Preserved like a shrine to pain. Taylor. You can't move forward if you're living in a museum of your past. Let me help you turn it into something good. Something that would make your mother happy. Chad looked at this woman. This fierce, exhausted, beautiful survivor who'd walked into his life by accident and become essential. And realized she was right. Okay, he whispered. Okay. 6 months later. Emma's room was perfect. Pink walls covered in hand-painted flowers. Taylor had discovered she loved art. A bed shaped like a castle. Shelves full of books. Mr. Trunk had a special chair by the window. Emma slept there every night. No more nightmares. No more fear. Just a little girl who believed in stars and elephants, and that daddies kept their promises. Because that's what Emma called Chad now. Daddy. The first time, 3 months in, he'd frozen. Emma had asked him to read a bedtime story, called him Daddy Chad without thinking. Taylor had watched him carefully, waiting to see if he'd correct her. He hadn't. "What story, sweetheart?" he'd asked, voice thick. Now it was natural. Daddy Chad took her to the park. Daddy Chad made pancakes on Sundays. Daddy Chad checked under the bed for monsters and promised they'd run away from him because he was scarier. Taylor and Chad married on a Tuesday in Marie's garden. Small ceremony. Just them, Emma, Marcus, and Marie. Emma wore a flower crown. Taylor wore a simple white dress. Chad wore his best suit and cried when Emma called him Daddy during the vows. They were a family built from wreckage and second chances. And sometimes, late at night when Emma was asleep and Taylor lay in his arms, Chad thought about the bridge, about the little girl who'd knocked on his window, about how opening that door had saved him just as much as it had saved them. "What are you thinking?" Taylor whispered. "That I was wrong." "About what?" "Men like me. I thought we couldn't have this. Family. Love. Normal." He kissed her forehead. "Turns out we just needed the right reason to try." Taylor smiled. "Emma would say you were brave." "Emma thinks everyone's brave. She's not wrong about you." Outside, snow began to fall, the first of the season. Chicago glowed in the distance. Inside the mansion that had been a fortress and became a home, a family slept warm and safe. And for the first time in 33 years, Chad Scott slept without nightmares. Sometimes the people who save us aren't the ones we expected. Sometimes they're the ones the world told us to fear. But the truth is simpler than that. Salvation doesn't come from perfection. It comes from someone broken enough to recognize your pain and brave enough to protect you anyway. Chad learned that children don't need perfect fathers. They need present ones. Ones who show up, who listen, who prove through action that love is stronger than fear. Taylor learned that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. That building a life with someone doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding the parts of you that were always there, just waiting for someone safe enough to emerge for. And Emma? She learned that families aren't just born. Sometimes they're chosen, built from strangers on bridges and promises kept in the dark. Maybe that's what all of us are searching for. Not perfection. Just someone willing to fight for us when we're too tired to fight for ourselves. Someone who opens the door when we knock. Someone who proves, again and again, that we're worth saving. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like to support more stories like this, and subscribe to Crimson Tales. We bring you new emotional journeys every single day. Before you go, check out the next video or explore our playlist for more tales of love, redemption, and second chances. Thank you for being here. Good night, and remember, even in the darkest places, light finds a way in.